And when you find so many of these institutions do support war and so many do allow homelessness to continue while they're snatching up money from their patrons, a question comes to mind, to me anyway. What gives these organisations the right to call themselves Christian? Because they're not. They're really not. I mean, war is terrorism, folks. That's what it is. I mean, and we can look at this. What is terrorism? We can just ask ourselves, what is terrorism, okay? Well, according to Webster's dictionary, a terrorist is one who uses the systematic use of terror, especially as a means of coercion. So, using those guidelines, we can discern who the world's leading terrorist organisations are, and naturally, of course, we've got the CIA created and funded organisation of Al-Qaeda, which of course means the database. They of course spring to mind. But there are others. There are other terrorist organisations in the world as well. The worst of which, in my opinion, has to be the private army of the New World Order known as Blackwater. Now, Blackwater is basically a group of international mercenaries, and mercenaries, of course, are illegal in Western countries, unless, of course, you join a registered mercenary organisation like Blackwater, which creatively refers to itself as a security firm, but simply seems to look like a bunch of terrorist pootheads to the rest of us. And who started this group of international murderers? Why, of course, it was a moron by the name of Eric Prince, who actually has the audacity to also call himself a Christian. Oh yes, I'm so Christian that I'm actually going to go out and murder and terrorise anyone who I'm paid to terrorise in the name of serving God. I mean, that's what Jesus would have done, isn't it? Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it really sounds more like the work of an intellectually impaired terrorist to me. But of course, we should bless Eric Prince as well, along with his merry band of intellectually impaired cutthroats. Otherwise, we probably never would have understood what domestic terrorism actually is. So there's a good side to everything, folks. And you've only got to ask a returned soldier about some of this, and they'll probably quite freely tell you what's exactly going on in Iraq. I was listening to Alex Jones the other day, and God bless Alex. I mean, whether you like him or not, he certainly does have some hard-hitting guests on his show. And the other day he was talking to a returned soldier, a young lady who had actually left Iraq because she was scared of being raped, and she was appalled at the amount of American soldiers that were being shot by these Blackwater scumbags. I mean, this is what's going on in Iraq, folks. There's a lot of bad stuff going on over there, and most of it is being carried out by terrorist organisations such as Blackwater under the guise of keeping the people safe. And don't even get me started on the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, this organisation is basically a modern-day Gestapo, and let's just look at how they were formed, shall we? Well, let's see. We had, if we look at World War II, let's have a look at the formation of the Gestapo and what exactly happened in World War II. We had Adolf Hitler, who burnt down his Reichstag, and then he blamed it on a group that he didn't like. He said the evidence would be produced later, but it never was. And he used the event to decimate the German constitution, to introduce the Fatherland Security Act, and then he used it as a pretext to invade other nations. Of course, we had the Bush administration, who had the 9/11 attacks, and then they blamed those attacks on a group that they didn't like. They said the evidence would be produced later, but of course it never has been. And then George W. Bush used the event to decimate the United States Constitution and introduce the Homeland Security Act, which he used as a pretext to invade other countries. I mean, I don't know if anyone can say déjà vu, but it certainly seems like déjà vu to me. So these organisations are simply terrorist organisations, folks. I mean, do you feel terrified by these organisations? Because if you do, then there's a very good chance that they are terrorist organisations. It doesn't matter whether the government controls them or not. I mean, the governments are simply not doing the right thing. Look at the chemtrails situation. I mean, the chemtrails that are being sprayed across your country and across my country are shocking, folks. They are absolutely shocking. There's actually a forum post on my website you can go and look at the moment. If you go to thecrowhouse.com, my website, who I've sent you there many times before, click on the forum links and click news and politics, and you'll find an article there that's been posted about chemtrails. These things are shocking, folks. There's all sorts of stuff found in the chemtrails these days. They're finding aluminium, barium, strontium, all sorts of really, really disgusting chemicals that are very, very dangerous to human life. And they're spraying these things. They are finding completely unacceptable levels of these toxins in snowfalls, in waterfalls. These things are being sprayed by the governments. Now, we elect our representatives to represent us, not to represent special interests, not to represent foreign governments, not to represent the State Department or the current administration. You know, it is the explicit duty of those we elect to represent the interests of the citizens. And in this, the leadership in all of our countries has failed miserably. But the thing is that these governments, these government officials, are answerable to the people. The people are not answerable to the government. It's the other way around. They just have people fooled into believing that we actually have to worry about the government, when really the government has to worry about us, because the people are sovereign. Okay, the people are sovereign. I say this all the time. The people are sovereign. The governments are elected to represent us. So I think that you should all be making a lot of noise about these chemtrails, and don't take no for an answer from your governments. If you go and talk to these people and say, look, we want to know why there are unacceptable levels and dangerous levels of things like barium and strontium in our water supply due to your chemical spraying, you need to explain to us, and we will not take no for an answer. If you seek to brush us off and not give us an answer, then we will take legal action against you, because you are breaking the law. You are conducting yourself in a criminal manner, and you are not acting in the best interests of the people. People really do need to start making noise about this and start taking action against this, because things are getting very, very bad, folks. I mean, they're poisoning the world population. They're poisoning the population in all of our countries. We just have to ask why they are doing it. What is the motivation? What is the hidden agenda? And we all know what the hidden agenda is, of course. The hidden agenda is depopulation and control of the human species. That's what they are working towards. So the way to stop this, is to wake up and to stand up and to make a bit of noise about it. Because if we don't make noise about it, folks, it's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. And we have the power to fix the problems. We really do have the power to fix the problems. Never doubt the power that you have as a citizen, as an individual, as a person. Never doubt your perfection and your power. We are very, very powerful creatures. We are very powerful beings. And we have the ability to stop all of this stuff from going on. We simply need to stand up and say no. Non-compliance really, really is the key to this situation, and we need to take the matter in hand. So I'll talk a little bit more about that after the break. I think it's time for a break now, and I will talk to you again in a few minutes. Now, before the break, we were talking about chemtrails. Now, it's very important that people take notice of chemtrails and what's going on. There is a citizens group in Shasta County that has been testing water and testing soil and testing snow samples, and just to see what's going on with these chemtrails. And there is a lot of this going on. There's a lot of things going on in the sky, and these are not contrails, people. These are chemtrails. This is chemical spraying. Contrails dissipate very quickly. I don't care what person comes on and what they tell you that these things are contrails. They are lying. That's why they are telling you this, because they are barefaced liars. And I don't care who says it. They're a barefaced liar. If they tell you that these trails that don't dissipate in the atmosphere are simply contrails, then they're either a complete fool or they're a barefaced liar. There's no other possible excuse for it. I mean, that's the only two possibilities. Now, a pond in Shasta County, in what is described as a filtered location, right? It's a forested hilltop away from any highway or any industry. Now, it tested 0 for aluminium when filled, okay? And after 1.5 years exposure to the atmosphere, the pond tested 375,000 UGL, okay? This is 375 times
the maximum contaminant level that is acceptable for human beings. 375 times, people. This is 375 times more toxic than is acceptable, and this is simply from being exposed to the atmosphere. You understand this? Do you really understand this? Okay, now a recent snowpack sample taken from the ski bowl on Mount Shasta also tested at 61,000 UGL, which is 61 times the maximum contamination level for aluminium in drinking water in the state of California.